the Washington football team, the ex-Redskins, whatever you want to call them, they are fighting for their playoff lives right now in one of the worst divisions in probably NFL history. This team, whoever goes in, is going to be most likely 7-9, or worst case, who knows, maybe 6-10 in some strange way. Actually, I don't think the math will work out. Somebody's going to be 7-9 going in. That'll be the first team since the Panthers, I believe, under Ron Rivera, who went in under 500, and they were 7-8-1, and I think that was about 6 years ago. But with me, my guest to discuss the Washington football team, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them, I know it's going to be a long time before people will get used to whatever the new name will be. And, of course, here to talk about it is longtime Washington football team fan, Ramel Fields. How are you doing, Ramel?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for being on the podcast, especially after the craziness that's been going on with the team and the announcement of them releasing Dwayne Haskins, who was the 15th pick in last year's draft. And it's very crazy with everything that's been going on that you would hope something else other than his play and him getting cut not even a week before the season ends.
Yeah, before the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a very unusual circumstance, especially you never see anybody get cut that badly unless there's some guy off the street or lower tier player, but to be the guy starting and then get cut the next day, not even finish out the whole season, that's pretty disappointing and pretty sad.
Hmm. Yeah, I think obviously Sunday, Sunday night at the strip club, that incident, I think that was pretty much the beginning of the end. We know he's had some, off-field issues. But, I mean, like, what Redskins fan would tell you that, this was coming, especially, when we drafted him in the first round and, he had such a bright future, and then he just pretty much implodes on himself. And you think, let's give him a year or two, to learn the playbook, build leadership qualities. And I just feel like he never got there. And for them to release him, a week before the season is over, it tells you a lot about, how bad the situation had become. And I believe it just, in the end, it was a distraction to the team, and it was something that we didn't need, especially when we have a game Sunday night that is pretty much control our own destiny to get into the playoffs. So, I don't know. It's just one of those situations.
How did you become a fan of Washington, and how long have you been a fan?
I've been a fan pretty much as long as I can remember. I'm 04, 03, I believe, back to Mark Brunell days with Clinton Portis, Santana Moss, Champ Bailey, all those guys. I remember playing Madden 2004 with the Redskins. So pretty much as long as I can remember, my grandma used to always have the games on Sundays. We would go to church, and then, by the time we got home, the game was on, and that's just what we did. And it went from there. And it's actually interesting because my grandfather is actually a Cowboys fan. So they go back and forth a lot on the daily, especially, this year where, it's so wide open. You have no idea who's going to win. And as bad as the division is, it's definitely been nerve-wracking. It's been a roller coaster year for sure.
Looking back in your memory, some of the good times or even some of the not so great times in Washington football team history in your memory as a fan, what is the biggest one that sticks out to you?
We haven't been exactly, the best over the past, decade and a half. I think we made the playoffs once or twice. I think 15 and 05 was when we made the playoffs. 05, we made the playoffs. But I think most memorable would be, I felt that when we had RG3 and that year we looked really good. And I felt like we were, on our way to getting over the hump. And then, he gets injured, and then he plays through the injury and gets injured beyond repair for his situation with the team itself. Just that, it sucks, man, because when you see your team and your team has been, subpar for so long, you feel good about, how good your team is playing. And then, it's pretty much stripped from you because your quarterback was your star player. So I'd say probably that year would probably be the most memorable for me.
And I always think about that, and I've always told people, so rolling in your quarterback's career, especially with all the talk that Shanahan was going to quit before they started going on that winning streak. Plus, if you thought Kirk Cousins was going to be the guy, why not bench RG3 up 14-0 and then take your chances with Cousins? That way, Cousins, for good or for bad, still could have been capable. He showed it against that one game that RG3 was out against Cleveland.
And Kirk Cousins, he turned out to be a good quarterback. And I think if you look back on it from an organization standpoint, a lot of things could have been done differently. Obviously, wanting to win is definitely, at the top of, the goals, but player safety and especially keeping a player healthy and getting him to the point where he can, go back on the field and perform without re-injuring himself, especially in that situation, because I feel like that derailed his career for the most part, because I think he had, a few years that he would have gave us that were, in his prime. And I think we could have been to the playoffs and possibly been a Super Bowl contender at some point.
What's unique about that division is that nobody has won that division 2 years in a row since the tail run of the Eagles' 4 consecutive division titles in 2004. Ever since 2005, no one has won it in back-to-back years.
Yeah, it's been a really weird situation. I mean, like I said, like this year, man, you just never really know. It's one of those divisions where a team can be clearly better than the other team in the division, and it can still be an upset. Nobody would bat an eye just because it's so wide open. But yeah, my nerves right now. We've had 2 weeks here now where we could have just won the game and sealed up the division title, but Sunday night it's going to be fun. I mean, and if we lose, it's just one of those things, man. We're so, as Redskins fans, we're just used, to the disappointment. But I mean, we're close. I believe we're close to getting over the hump. I believe Rivera's brought in definitely a better culture for the team. So I think we're going in the right direction.
What were the expectations coming in? I know everybody was thinking this is a rebuild year, especially after the disaster of Bill Callahan and Jay Gruden coaching really basically 2 different halves of the season. Mm-hmm. What were you thinking once the Rivera hire was made, and what were expectations? I know that you can see sometimes the delusional Redskins fan base will say, okay, we're going to playoffs, but this team was far from anywhere near close to be competitive. This is a bit of a surprise.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, especially in the preseason rankings had us actually bottom, I think, last in the division. It started off with the Cowboys and Eagles, obviously, being the favorites to win the division. And then the Giants just come out of nowhere, mid-season and make a push for it. So you just – you never really know. I didn't expect Dwayne Haskins to, like I said, implode on himself. We've had 3 different quarterbacks, 4 now, if you count Sunday. So to say I had high expectations, I would be lying to you. I'm definitely impressed with where we are. But like I said, I do think we're moving in the right direction. I think Sunday is going to be a big step in continuing to move in that right direction and push over the playoff drought. And we'll just go from there, man. We'll get in the playoffs and we'll see what happens. Our defense is fantastic. So we've just found ways to win games, to still be in the hunt. And here we are. So we just got to seize the moment.
Was there a point during the season you're thinking they're making the playoffs?
When we beat the Steelers, when we beat Pittsburgh, I felt really good about that. You see a lot of different things in that game. The offense playing well. The defense really, really came out that game. And I think that's when we really solidified those young guys up front. I mean, we've been building that defensive line for years now, like from Sweat to Young to Payne to Allen. I mean, we've been building that. Even Kerrigan, I remember when we drafted Kerrigan. And, I've seen a bunch of Redskins fans, saying, oh, why are we drafting defensive players and that? Well, here it is. It's paying off. Now we just need to put something on the other side of the ball and help the defense out, because we're going to limit people point-wise if we play, how we're supposed to play.
And that was a stark contrast compared to a few years ago where they kept loading up on offense and they couldn't get the defensive side settled. Yep. And then by the time they did, it was a bunch of busts. Bakari Rambo, Phillip Thomas, David Amerson, all those guys. And now it's finally paying off. Again, competent front office, competent coaching.
Our secondary is what I'm most proud of. We, shored that up a little bit on the back end because our front line had never really been, the issue. We've been, building blocks, like I said, building that up over a few years now. But the secondary is really where you need help. They always say defense wins championships. So I think you start with a good base on defense like we have, and then you build from there.
Was there a point you were concerned that this team's not making the playoffs?
Yep, yesterday. I actually really thought we were going to win the game yesterday. And that's probably selfish of me to think that, but I thought we were going to win that pretty handily, but you never know. So right now I'm feeling it, like I said, because we control our own destiny. We win, we're in, we lose, and try again next year. So yesterday was definitely a point where I said, okay, we got to take care of business or, we're going home. And we've had it for 2 weeks now. So it'll be highly disappointing if we do let that playoff spot slip.
if they make the playoffs, who's the team do you feel like Washington matches up the best with?
It's funny you asked that. I think we match up well, with most teams because our front, four can rush the passer. And I think anytime you can put pressure on a quarterback, whether it be Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, I think you have a better chance of beating them. You've seen over the past couple of weeks, teams have started to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and you see he still finds ways to win games, of course, but you can see how much pressure on a quarterback can really affect how he plays, and it evens the playing field for sure.
Looking in the NFC playoff bracket, who's the one team you do not want to face?
Well, the Packers look great. The Packers, the Bucs look really good, and obviously the Saints, if Drew Brees is healthy and playing how he wants to play. I feel bad, for the other conference because, the Chiefs, who wants to see the Chiefs in the playoffs? Answer me that. Who wants to see the Chiefs? So on our side, I think the Packers are definitely going to be, the team to beat.
Did you think at one point that Haskins was going to be the future? And to you, what do you think really the biggest issue was in his brief tenure here? Most quarterbacks, even Heath Schuler got 3 years. Gus Frerotte, even before Gus Frerotte basically took the job from him. And you look at all the other guys who were drafted. RG3 was here for at least 5 years. And even though 4 of those years he actually played, it is a alarming thing to see, especially that pick was not made by the previous regime. That was not made by Rivera. That was made by the owner. And that's been an issue about Dan Snyder's interference with this franchise.
You draft a quarterback in the first round, you obviously want to get some production out of him. I just think that the issue, I believe, is it just comes down to maturity. There's no reason you should be going to the strip club. Without a mask, besides that point, there's no reason you should be going out to the club after you just got beaten, you played terrible. I think all of the off-field issues that he's had, you saw in the beginning of the season when he actually dropped down pretty far in the depth chart, I believe, behind a practice squad guy. And Rivera's a great coach, so he wouldn't do anything like that, for no reason. So I think that kind of foreshadowed what we would see, this week. Maturities, like I said, is a big thing. I just think he's just young, and some players just don't translate well to that lifestyle. They can't handle it. They don't have the discipline to know what to do and what not to do and when not to do it. So I just think in the end, maturity definitely was his downfall.
Do you see in him making another NFL squad? There have been guys who've gotten second chances even this bad. Ryan Mallett was on a couple of teams, and that's who I compare Haskins to. Ryan Mallett with talent. That's basically the best way that I could describe him. Maybe Mallett's not in the league now, but
if you look at his college highlights, there's definitely potential there, and I do believe he'll, be picked up by another team. But somebody in his corner, whether it be his parents or whoever is in his ear, has to let him know that he has to mature up a little. And like I said, I believe he'll get picked up. He has the ability, the potential's there. I believe if he focuses on the playbook, because in the offseason he was posting, his workout videos and all this and all that, but it didn't translate to the field. So he just got to get back in the gym, get to it, and take advantage of the next opportunity he gets if he gets one.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying Jamarcus Russell, but the problem is this. Haskins came in shape.
Yeah.
Haskins has the ability.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just he didn't work hard. But other than that, I even used a comparison. I saw a lot of Redskins Donovan McNabb where short hopping passes didn't work hard, wasn't listening to coaches, even though people were saying Haskins improved his work, but it wasn't good enough to the point where, they could even think of him as a starter.
Yeah, I believe KD had a nice quote. It was hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I think that's perfectly suiting for this situation because you kind of get into that thing where you're so athletic and you do this and you do that. And congrats for everything he did, at Ohio State. And it was great. But you have to continue to build on that, especially in the NFL. These are grown men. People in the defense get paid millions of dollars to stop you from doing what you want to do. So you have to continue to improve. You have to know the playbook. You have to be a leader. And I just feel like he wasn't a leader. And that all comes back to maturity at the end of the day.
Looking at Super Bowl predictions, who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who do you have coming out of the AFC?
I believe we're going to have a Chiefs-Packers Super Bowl. And I believe the Chiefs are going to repeat because I just don't think that Green Bay defense is going to be enough to contain Mahomes. We've seen, Mahomes make mistakes in the Super Bowl. We've seen him be down 24-0 in Houston. He was down to the Titans. I mean, that whole team as a whole is just, so resilient. They've been the favorites all year. I don't see any reason it would change now. Just because they don't look as good, as they have, they're still finding ways to win games. And at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to win games. So I believe it'll be, Chiefs Packers, and I believe Chiefs will come out on top. 31-21 will be a final score for me.
Yeah, and 52 points total in a Super Bowl. That's, I mean, a lot of people are thinking it's going to be like 90 points and it's just going to be a track meet. But you never know. Once it comes to the playoffs, everything changes.
All it takes is one big turnover, one big mistake, and it'll slow the pace of a game down. And then, you got to stop, you got to think. And it's, it's time to play football. It's not just sling it around the yard. And if one team, one or the other gets a touchdown or two lead, I think they'll start running the ball. Aaron Jones is a great running back. Le'Veon and hopefully Edwards-Helaire is, healthy at that point. So they both have decent running games. I believe Le'Veon is just a tad better for that situation, ground and pound at the end of the game. But, hey, both of them, they got a 1-2 punch. Dylan from the Packers, he was looking pretty good. And I think they have a good backfield in depth. So it's going to be a good game regardless. Both of those teams are hot right now going into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
What are ways people can reach out to you on social media? And if people just want to, discuss Washington and what's left of this season, really, how can people reach out to you?
I'm actually in a lot of talk groups for the Redskins. IG, Twitter is O'Malley_Inc. INC. That's really all I have, man. I'm not on too much. I don't get on too much. Try to stay out of the way for the most part. I'm on my phone a lot. I'm more of a scroller than a poster, so I'm not on there as much to post just to, see what's going on, just to keep myself informed.